This evening, because citizens, but which we see it's asked that the city I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, item number 4, business items. We have a drone demonstration. Chief Wilson, do you want to introduce?
Lieutenant Horton's going to get up and kind of just give us a preview of what drones can be used in police work. Kind of give us a little bit about that, and then we'll go outside. And Kyle is going to show you what the drone can do, and they brought their cool new van, so everybody can see the van, and it's quite the deal. So,
Hey, thanks for having me again. In 2018, we started a drone program with our search and rescue team, and it quickly turned off. Right now, I think we are sitting at 18 confirmed rescues with a drone for search and rescue. We brought on Kyle Nordfors. You'll meet him in a few minutes. He's actually an airline pilot for Alaskan Air, but kind of a drone nerd. And when we brought him on, we didn't know what we were getting into, but he's just remarkable for us. Shortly after we started in search and rescue, we started looking at applications for law enforcement, and we're looking at different drone programs around the country, and it's really taken off for us. So far, we had a situation where we had 2 kids in a stolen car that crashed the car, ran on foot, and the drone with the capabilities had both of them in 10 minutes. We've had a drug deal go bad at Motel 6 one night and found them fleeing as well. We're using it. We're expanding these applications with fire too. We've responded to several house fires. Thermal imaging on the drone gives us the capability to help fire know where the hot spots are on the house and that type of thing. With the van, our vision right now is we want this van driving around, and any call that we think that this drone can help on, the van will respond, whether it be a house fire, fleeing suspects, anything like that. We don't want the van, we don't want it to where somebody has to go to the office, get the van, and then bring it out. And so some of the capabilities on this, we served a warrant with the Forest Service yesterday down in Davis County with their SWAT team. The capabilities of this drone and the streaming process, the main bosses in Washington, D.C. were watching this live as the arrest warrant was served. They actually got to watch a fight too, because the guy wasn't very cooperative. But everybody on the ground, including the SWAT team, every member involved was able to pull their phone out and watch this as it went down. And so what we can do now is we also stream in the dispatch. So our dispatchers are watching if a drone is launched. Deputies are watching if this is launched. The primary thing going forward with the drone program, and the most important thing, is your drone program has to be reactionary. It cannot be proactive. Okay, you can't just throw drones up. You're gonna lose public trust. All right, and that's important. So if there's something where if we have a reason to throw the drone up, we can throw the drone up. But like I said, it's proactive, it's reactive policing, not proactive policing. Okay. Some of the capabilities on this, I'll show you in a minute, or I think you'll be amazed. Any questions before we go out there? If you got just a minute.
Yeah, what do we see? What are you gonna show us? So we,
Zoom capabilities on one of the drones we have, the camera alone on it is $12,000. But if we launch it from this area, we can zoom in on the front doors of Weaver High School. Not the front of Weaver High School, the front of doors of Weaver High School. And so for search and rescue applications, that's amazing. The thermal capabilities related to law enforcement, like I said, that the car with the 2 kids picked up both kids with thermal imaging belly crawling through somebody's backyard. The officers were actually 2 doors down. The drone picked them up and you couldn't see them because it was dark, but they were both apprehended pretty quickly. We had a case where at Terra Park, somebody was cutting catalytic converters out of the cars at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We watched him for 20 minutes before he realized he was being watched. And so it's a safety issue. We had it wasn't a situation, we were doing a saturation patrol one night. Drone was launched from Parsons on 1900 West. We had an officer doing FSTs, field sobriety test at Burley Burger on 12th Street. Okay, so he's out making intoxicated male, do all the tests and nothing happened. But think about what if something did happen. The dispatcher's watching that officer as a second set of eyes. If he gets pushed down, the officer doesn't have to scream for help on the radio. The dispatcher is watching him, knowing what's going on. And we've had several comments from our deputies. They like hearing the noises, that they know they basically got backup. So it's quite a tool for us. It's changing a lot of things we're doing.
What were we looking at the cost on that? I forgot what you talked.
So anywhere, the sky's the limit on this. A really good drone for law enforcement right now is the DJI M30T. You're looking at about $17,000.
It was close to 18 something.
Yeah,
That's the whole pack.
it's below 20,000. And we can go over some of it. It's really easy to deploy, not a whole lot of setup. You can have it up and flying in a minute. So. Any other questions before we go on? Cool. If you got just a minute, we good?
let's go.
All right.
Everyone's welcome.
Thank you.
Steve, thank you. Back.
Okay,
Okay,
how was the demo?
all right,
That
we're
was
back
great.
in here. We're going to reconvene. That was very interesting. I think everyone's really excited about that. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
We should have.
Okay, moving on to item number B, our annual sewer report. This is Jay Bussio.
Thank you, Mayor, thank you, council. We're just asking for the adoption of the new sewer plan. You've got attached the report that we gave to the Division of Water Quality, going over last year's events or lack of events that we did.
Yeah, I think Black Women's is a good way to happen. Is
Everything's,
there anything else that we need to be aware of?
everything was pretty good.
Any questions for Jay? All right. If nothing else, could we have a motion?
Accept it. or
Yes, to adopt, or to accept it, right?
I'll motion that we accept the sewer report as presented.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
And any opposed? All right, thank you. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Item C, discussion of possible action about police surplus equipment at Tinkles.
Yeah, so we're just asking to surplus a few items. The first was the 2017 unmarked Ford Explorer. We'll be replacing that this year. So we will send that to the auction. Once we make the switch on that one, the watch guard body cameras, as you all know, we got a camera grant last year. So we replaced all our body cameras. We're almost finished with that swap. So There are some agencies still using those 4RE cameras that we have, so, or sorry, the Vista camera. So we could maybe get a little bit of our money back from those and pay for the operating costs of these ones for the service contracts we have to pay each year to keep the service for the cameras. So, and then the radios we'll be getting at the time this fall that we talked about before. There are agencies in Weaver County that kept the Motorola radios. So they're interested in looking at the ones we have. The car radios will be no longer good on any of our systems here. So we could possibly just put those on eBay or something to get rid of the car radios. There's any questions about those items?
Any safety issues with selling money back?
There will have to be wiped by UCAN to take all the information off, but after the channels and all that stuff is removed, then there's no, it's just a normal. They're available for purchase for contractors and everybody else use those, but after we wipe them, they will no longer be useful for anything.
Okay, so there is a need for them.
Yeah. I'm not sure the cost at this point. We'll have to do some research when that comes, but they should sell. I think Weaver County is interested in our handhelds, so.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thanks.
No more discussion, I have a motion on this.
Make a motion to, just approve the police surplus equipment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any opposed? No, motion carries. Moving on to item D, discussion possible action to adopt a resolution 23-05, which is zero fatalities. Glen Gammell.
Good evening. So this is a resolution that we would like to get passed for the zero fatalities and serious injuries on all of Harrisville public roads. This is in part with the Public Works and Police Department. We'd like to get this where we can say no more fatalities or serious injuries by January 1st, 2024. My typo says 2026 on the paper, but on the resolution, that's 2024. So that's where that is.
So is this not just for the city, it's for the whole city? Anyone?
Yes, it's for the whole city. It encompasses anywhere in the city, including even the state roads. One thing that we were trying to find out, which we still, I can't get an exact number on it, but in the owned Harrisville city roads, we have not seen a fatality on our roads since the 90s at some point. It being on a Harrisville city road. That doesn't include, the state roads at Washington Boulevard, Highway 89, Wall Avenue. So that's pretty darn good for a city.
All right, any questions? All right, we have a motion, please.
I'll motion that we adopt resolution 23-050 fatalities.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. I need a roll call on this one since it's a resolution. Councilmember Loveland,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Councilmember Williamson.
Yes.
Right, motion carries. Thank you for your work tonight. Item E is a discussion possible action to adopt the 2024 tentative budget. This is Jessica Hardy, and you're online.
And there she's.
Are you gonna do it?
Yeah, so it's a preparation. Jessica is with us if you have questions online. She's under the weather a little bit tonight. So I'm gonna kind of lead off with her staff memo, but she is available to answer any questions that you may have. Tonight is the night that we need to adopt the tentative budget for fiscal year 2024. So she has outlined all of the, actually, council's been very actively involved in the budget preparation this year. I think you're well informed with the increases in expenditures that we anticipated and also the anticipated revenue that the city intends to collect. So she's got some balances on here, and the important note on this is it is based on maintaining our revenue with our current certified tax rate. So what that means is we will go through the truth and taxation process once again to maintain our revenue with the current rate.
Any questions for either Jessica or Jenny?
The only question I had when I looked at it was the garbage fund. If we're still running in deficit, why are we waiting to increase the fees? Why can't we do that now? I don't think we should be subsidizing.
The garbage fund.
Yeah,
Jessica, do you want to respond to the garbage fund question?
I would let Justin respond to that if he's there.
He is, thank you, Justin.
So last year when we did the assessment, Jake drove around and assessed all the garbage cans, and we did that assessment. We are going to address that utility fee again in July, in accordance with the fiscal year. We're also going to address the stormwater and sewer fee after feedback of many residents last year that they'd rather see small incremental increases over time than one big lump sum. So again, it won't affect the monthly utility bill by more than $1 per resident. But we are incrementally looking at that every year and keep that going up. We have also looked into a few things that we didn't realize were coming out of the garbage fund, such as our spring and fall cleanup. That's usually about $5,000 per time we do that. So we've actually, Brian is this year worked on it and got that actually into his own budget. So that will kind of help balance things out also. So we are proactively looking at all these accounts, making sure that we are running to at least a zero balance in the garbage account. And then we're running to the balances that we can still operate the city within the sewer fund, all the utility funds.
thank you.
Good question.
I'm curious how Brian is doing that in his budget. I'm not sure if that one fits, but I'm, just asking a question.
So it's what has transpired is over the years, Brian has taken over the spring and fall cleanup
Okay,
with all the garbage cans at the park.
right.
So this year, he's doing the same and he's worked it into to his budget. With this used budget sheet, we put it under his utilities.
So we'll find it plugged in there. So
Yes, in his utilities line item. And then after this year, after the new facility is over at 750 and we have space for public works, and we can actually do it to where we can lock it up at night and not have, we can have a lot more control. We'll move it over to public works and do it out of a utility fee budget. Again.
Yeah, I just wondered where it's gonna
Yeah.
fit into the budget.
Yeah, so Brad got plugged into his utilities line item in his budget. So that one might have increased a little. But again, mind you, out of the general fund, Public Works is now all but 200,000 when it used to be 800,000. So there's a bunch of savings and allowance for the other departments to dip into the general fund that now Public Works is not taking away.
Okay, thanks, Justin.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Not, can we have a motion, please?
Make a motion, we adopt the tentative 2020 budget at this time. Also.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, I did that again. Thank you. All in favor is the motion carries. That's what I want to say. Thank you. All right, item F, discussion possible action to set the public hearing for fiscal year 2023, which is the amended budget. Jennie Knight.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to recognize Jessica Hardy's hard efforts in getting us the financial statements again this month prior to council meeting, so that I don't know if you've all had a chance to check your email, but those were sent out. so that we kind of have a gauge of where we're at this point in our fiscal year. So we really appreciate her efforts in doing that for us. This is the time that we'll set the public hearing for the June 13th council meeting for amending the budget. The only anticipated change that we have to that was outlined on the budget worksheet for April's financials, where we did our market study last fall, and we will be balancing the budget with ARPA funds, and it will free up any of the fund balance that we can then put towards our debt service or anticipated other things that we may have. As follow-up from the previous meeting last month, council members all agreed for me to get some numbers back for what at the end of the fiscal year bonus would look like for the employees. So I just have a total number for the scenarios that were requested. So for $1,000 per employee, it would be approximately $28,000 out of the general fund and $3,400 out of utility funds. For $1,500 is $42,000 out of the general fund and approximately $5,000 out of utilities. For $2,000, it's $56,000 out of general fund and $6,900 out of utility funds. And for $2,500, it was $70,000 out of the general fund and approximately, $8,600 out of utility funds. So that is the total amount for those increments that were requested by council. Again, my recommendation is that we look at the May financials that come in at the June meeting, since our meeting is on June 13th, and as long as we're running the same schedule we have been the last few months with our revenue, I would look to the council for recommendation on what that should be.
What was the number for the $1,000 again? 28,000 out of general fund?
Yes,
And what was the other number?
3,400 out of utilities.
Okay, thank you.
We need to add to the reopen budget the issuance of the bonds. So it would just look like a cash allocation and then it would hit the liability. So that does need to be included in the reopen budget as well.
For this fiscal year, yes, we will be having to pay out, thank you, Jessica, that we will be paying out a couple of bond payments before the end of the fiscal year because we issued those bonds in April. So we'll have that.
We're on track with all this.
Yes. We've allocated the fund balance from the overage that we found out with our audit. We've allocated that to make bond payments.
Correct.
Any other questions? So we would need a motion to set the public hearing. Do I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion that we take the action to set the public hearing for the 2023 amended budget on June 13th, 2023.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on. Item number 5 is public comments. This is the opportunity for anybody in the audience to come and address any concerns on your mind. All right, let's move on. All right. Item number 6, Mayor Council follow-up. We are going to have it from our department heads first. Chief Wilson, would you like to come and address?
So this past year, police department has received their gold status from Lexipol. What that means is we're all caught up on policy, all caught up on our daily training bulletins, and everything that through our policy company. They send out a plaque and stuff every year, and we've been silver in the past, but with Sergeant Davis's help, we are now gold. She's been on top of everybody to get things done, which I really appreciate. Another thing that I want to kind of keep on or introduce and keep at the back of your mind, Weaver County Attorney Office is wanting to hire a digital examiner for the RCFL. The RCFL is the Rocky Mountain Computer Forensic Lab. Right now, Weaver County are not a contributing party, so everything we send down there is kind of gets pushed to the back of the list. We normally don't use this service a ton. Ogden does a lot of our phones and stuff. But in the event that we do need it, it's kind of an insurance policy. So the county attorney's office is trying to propose this as charging each agency like they charge CSI. So they have somebody in mind, but there's a little pushback on the salary of that person. So just an example, if they were to pay the examiner $90,000 a year, that would be a cost to us at $1,700 a year, $1,701. And if they push it to $120, which is the guy they want, the guy they're trying to hire used to run the unit down there. He's gotten to that age where they force him into retirement with the federal government. So, but he's asking for 120, and that would be approximately $2,300 a year for that service.
I think what the duties are a little bit.
The RCFL. So they'll download phones, computers, but they're more technical than the Ogden Crime Unit. They've actually put cell phones back together that have been at the bottom of the lake for a year and got the information off of there. So they have all the equipment to do the hardware stuff, and it's funded by most of it's funded by the federal government. So Salt Lake has people down there, and I can't remember all the cities that have people down there, but a contributing agency has priority. And they'll actually do your internal affairs investigations too, from what they're telling us. But just something to think about. I don't know how far it's going to get, but it may come up in the next month or so. So,
Are you including this in your budget now, or are you just thinking it's gonna be in the future sometime? I mean, consider it.
I think that they're going to do it this year. If they're going to do it, it's really going to depend on agencies like Weaver County and Ogden. I mean, their portion of this is a lot, right? So if I can remember, our portion is like less than 3%. It's 2.7% if I can remember. I think 2.8. Without pulling the CSI thing back up, I'm not sure, but it's close to 3%. So ours in Weaver States is the smallest portion of anybody in Weaver County. Everybody else is more. I think North Ogden was between $6,000 and $7,000 for their portion.
Is it based on case or population?
Both.
That
Yeah, that CSI model that they charge for CSI, yes. Yeah. We will be ready to submit the COPS grant tomorrow. We're asking for 2 officers on that COPS grant. Does everybody know what that is? They'll pay a certain percentage of the officer's salary for 3 years. And then it's our responsibility after that, which is excellent in the situation we're at right now, where we're waiting for all these houses to come in. We can start getting our force going, and by the time that comes up, we should be, we'll have the citizens to justify that. And then we're also working on the school resource officer contracts right now for the next year. So I would imagine that's going to go up considerably from what it has been. Do you have any questions on any of those?
Thank you, Chief. Director Schinzel.
Well, good sign on Ashley Cove. You see there's movement. There's blacktop going down today. There's been some movement at the Copperwoods development on 2150 and off of the highway. So there is starting to be movement. There's starting to be building permits pulled, which will only help and increase over the next 2 months our revenues from for this fiscal year and bolster our budget to be in a better situation. As you can see, Glenn and Jake both presented tonight. Jake's been diligently working on code enforcement and on the sewer, our sewer system and our sewer reports. We just got an updated version of our GIS to where we can actually do our inspections live right there on our GIS system, and it keeps it forever. So that's big. Glenn has been diligently working on these grants and this new highway program. And I don't know how much you guys read into that, but the amount of effort and work he's put into that to help us in the future to get these grants and this federal funding, it's amazing. It's huge. He's worked very diligently with the other departments. And so I just want to give some kudos to him also. As you can see, we've got to set up some signs at our park because we've had some swimmers. They've seen that the park is full of water and they've decided to go swim in that cold water. A lot braver than me, but anyways, so we'll have signs up. They were ordered. We'll get those up here in the next week when they get here. And we're just moving forward, ready for the warm weather and sunshine and getting our basins all mowed down and cleaned up and the parks. The Millennium Park mowed and cleaned this week, and we're just kind of ready for a little break from the long winter that we had. So it's kind of where we're at.
And we're escaping any flooding.
Yes.
apparently.
And currently, we've been very proactive with that. We did assist our neighboring city of North Ogden with dredging out a channel they had that directly affects us through their city. So we did that about 2 weeks ago and helped them out. We are proactively going to get with the residents that have the channels in their yard this year, and if they're able to let us get on with the mini X and get those cleaned out. That's kind of our big summer project is we want to try to keep these channels and get them. A lot of them they've had, if they have big filter around them, they've got animal damage and things have been kind of knocked down by those animals. So we'll now kind of restructure those banks and not alter the stream in any way to where we need a stream alteration permit, but just fortify the banks and dredge out any debris that's built up over time. So it's kind of another project we're looking at. We did just get done with our spring sweeping of the entire city. We do that twice a year, spring and fall. So that went very well. We didn't have any major breakdowns or issues with the sweeper this year, thank goodness. So yeah, we're just moving forward and keeping working every day, and hopefully this development keeps going.
The more thing, groundbreaking.
Oh, yes. We have decided on a date for the groundbreaking. It will be June 28th at 10 a.m. in the morning. That is due to Representative Blake Moore's schedule, and he will most likely be in attendance for that. We will have everything ready for you guys for the groundbreaking, shovels, hard hats, vests, refreshments, all that. So I am going to invite some news media outlets. So just so you guys are all aware that we're going to make this an event and hopefully a special one that you can all attend.
Question. I know I'm supposed to know this, but I need my memory refreshed because I get forgetful. Why did we take the restrooms out at Millennium Park?
So we're getting brand new restrooms and a brand new parking lot with the development, the Ben Lomond development. I can't give you a timeline on that, but it is in the MDA.
I knew it was tied to those.
Yes.
So,
Yes, they are working diligently to get us a plan, what that plan entails. I hope it is a timeline, but we are working with it.
I think they're gonna get.
Try not to look at that side.
I think they're gonna get an earful.
Well, we're hoping next month they will be on the agenda and we will let you have,
Thank you very much.
you will have what you can have.
How are we doing with sandbags? We got enough?
Yeah, we've got enough. We've got about 1,500 left, 12 to 1,500 in case our residents need them or an outside agency. I know a few outside agencies have declared emergency states of emergencies. Jack has worked very diligently on writing ours up, but we haven't had any damage. So we're not going to declare until we don't have any damage. We're gonna say we're not going to have any damage. So, but North Ogden did declare, so we're working with them to get reimbursement for the time and all that we've done to help them out. So that should help a little.
One thing I just want to commend your department on too, is I think Glenn touched on this, our mayor's dinner or luncheon the other day, that you are self-performing all of this work that you're doing.
Yes.
That's probably not recognized enough. They are saving the city a lot of money by doing this. I'm learning new skills, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you, guys.
To the administrator, anything?
I'm just gonna do a quick update for Parks and Recreation. Brian asked to be the director of excuse this evening. So we did receive our ramp funding check. So that has been received by the city and received, and this will be ordered and installed as quickly as possible. Yeah, so we can even do a ribbon cutting ceremony for the playground once it's in as well. Baseball and softball seasons are started, so you'll see activity every evening over at the parks. Our recreation crew is working to prep those fields, and we're partnering with our neighboring community, our cities to be able to facilitate all the games. A couple of notes from some things. The mayor and Councilmember Jackson and Councilmember Weiss and I attended the Utah Cities of League of Cities and Towns Conference in St. George a couple weeks ago. One of the classes I attended was specifically directed at the new subdivision codes that were passed this year in legislation. So basically what that means is the state legislators have taken city councils out of the subdivision business. No, you will no longer do preliminary and final approvals of subdivisions. We also have to revamp our entire subdivision code. And that will be the opportunity that you have to put parameters around development is in that code. So what it means for future developments is have to be implemented in about a year because of the size of the county we are, even though our city is smaller, the regulations come down by your county size, and Weaver County is a second class county. So we have to hit all of these benchmarks by I think early next year, 2024. So I'm working with the city attorney to enlist some help from an outside source, which we've already included in our budget for next year to help us. And I've also identified some funding through the state for small cities that have to implement these changes. And so what we'll do is we adopt a subdivision code, and as long as an application comes in to the city that meets that code, it is approved by a land use authority for the preliminary review, and then the final review is done administratively to make sure that everything is done. So they're taking city council out of the subdivision business, essentially. So we have that in addition to meeting our moderate income housing, which they just put out in the last week, the link for us to go in and submit our responses to how we've been proactively getting out in front of our strategies, and that due date is August 1st this year. So I will be putting forth a lot of effort and probably enlisting some other staff members to help us make sure. Along those lines, we have begun the process to adopt a new transportation impact fee. We have put out an RFP and hired a consulting firm to come and do the analysis on our roads for us. You may have noticed in the last week or so, we have the counter strips across some of our roads in the city. You'll look for that to come forward after that facilities plan is completed for your adoption, and then we will do the analysis for the fee through the designs bank. And the business license fee study has been started as well. So as that progresses and the all the data is now being collected by staff members and submitted to science to do that study, conduct that study for us. And last but not least, probably the most exciting news is the mayor and Councilmember Jackson. Mayor and I came in at the last minute, but we just left Northview Fire Department's board meeting. We called a special meeting. They received the report of the study they've been conducting, and they agreed to, I think it's safe to say, explore the possibility of winning voices for the city on our public safety building ordinance.
Recuse.
Max did recuse, just to be safe.
But yeah, essentially they were all on board.
Yes. So that is our staff report. Thank you for both of those reports. We'll move on, council. We'll start with Steve. Do you have anything for us, Steve?
No,
All right, thank you. Enjoy your time.
thanks.
Councilmember Wilson.
We had a fun experience today. We started a new landmark of having a senior dinner for our senior citizens over at the cabin at 12. We had 25 people show up and they all voted that they would like to have fresh meat every month and also months. They enjoyed the fact that everybody invited and jumped in and were very willing to bring a dish. And it was a nice social gathering. We came up with ideas. There, want to do some games and some want to do some exercising. And I think as it's evolving, people getting involved in this, we'll start to see it branch out. We'll feel things start to involve a lot more of our senior members. I think it will continue to grow. And it will probably outgrow this building. Hopefully it will grow about the same pace that the new building is. No, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but biggest thing we have to crack is getting the information out to seniors. And I think we're doing our part. We've got to figure out some ways of getting on the grassroots level, getting it out. But they're excited. And so we're meeting, I think it's on the 13th of June. We'll always do it on the second Tuesday of each month. And we would like to invite each of our directors, chief, to come and speak and see if your idea was well accepted as far as wanting to have a park committed to them too. So thank you for that suggestion. Appreciate that very much. So anything else that goes along with that? I'm not sure that they would enjoy the drones, but some of them, I think they do. I think that's exciting. Anyway, a lot of fun. And watch out. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great experience and a lot of good support from our seniors. We're taking care of it.
There were a lot of people there that I had never met before. So it's great with that.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be there. So thank you, and Diana, for doing this.
I just took charge.
Okay. What do you got, Kenny?
I just personally want to say thank you to the spring cleanup stuff. It helped me a ton. So I noticed some bids were full and cost. So thank you.
All right, yes. Claire.
I just want to tell these guys, thanks for all the effort you guys put in for all the studies you're doing. I know it's part of your job, but still, thank you, seriously. All the stuff you guys all over here are doing, so thanks.
It's nice to see us moving and progressing forward.
It is, it feels like we're making some progress.
It is.
Everyone's,
Thank you.
we've got a great team, we've got a great staff, everyone's doing. Which brings me up to this next point, the declaration of your candidacy for 3 seats that are going to be empty is the 1st of June through the 7th of June. You come in here, was it $25 to do that for those 3 seats? Like to see you back here again, I like it. But that's just kind of important. So make sure you put that on the calendar if that's what you're willing to do.
And notice in the newsletter, it said 3 4-year seats.
That's what it is.
I thought my seat was up a 2-year seat, right? For what's,
You were filling the rest of a term. So it was a 4-year term. Someone did 2, you fulfilled the next 2.
Your seats are.
Your seats now.
Okay, all right.
Go back to the regular schedule.
okay.
Okay.
Good.
Anything?
So whenever there's a midterm vacancy, it is state law that it goes back on the next municipal election cycle.
Oh, okay,
So that's why it was a 2-year seat, because that was the next election cycle.
all right.
And then we're back into a normal rotation. of 3 years.
Those 3 council seats. Every years, 4 years, and then there's 2 along with the mayor in the next cycle.
Yes, right. Every 2 years.
This is one of the first, been on it, we haven't had a 2-year term. Thank you for your dedication, all of you, appreciate it. Well, and with that, I don't have any more information, everyone did it, so thank you so much. I'll take a motion for adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Motion carries, thank you so much. You all.
See you, Steve.
See you guys.
Yeah.